Right. So, in today's session, we are going to discuss about a scenario wherein integration with external payment systems, especially when we are working on Guidewire Billing Center as a developer. Because as far as the Guideware applications are concerned, and especially in property and casualty insurances, Policy Center, as in when we know, majorly used for policy administration purpose. Claim center will be used to process the claims. As far as the billing center itself is concerned, will be managed and used by for the billing purposes, etc. In this regard, so whenever we try to understand a scenario-based understanding as a guideware developer, especially from the integration point of view, because as in when we see many of the job requirements, even we can see from the integration point of view, integration developer kind of. So in reference to the integration developer with external payment systems, let's say, for example, any company wants to integrate billing center with any kind of external payment gateway, which majorly allows for automatic payment processing and all. So for that, we need to write down the GOSO scripting, which can be used to create any kind of API calls and all. So that what are the external payment systems we are sending all the payment details as well as receiving the transactional status in written. So these are the scripts majorly useful for us to process the responses as well as updating the billing center systems with payment confirmation of failure. All these things will be done over here. In this regard, that's something being into a guideware developer, we must be having some, we have to develop some code using some Gosu programming. That's what something which this majorly of useful. You can see over here wherein we need to create two different variables, because the first variable about the payment system request for a new payment request and all. So this majorly including of the billing account, whatever we are maintaining, at the same time, whatever the amount of due that we have, right? So get amount due followed by the payment method, everything will be included in these variables. Second, when it comes to the variable about the payment response, because the first one about the payment request as in when we know, but whereas when it comes to the payment response is concerned, whatever the external payment gateway we have, followed by the process payment request do we follow, everything will be comes under this. So these are the two variables we have. One is about the payment request variable, and second variable relating to the payment response variable. Now there are two logics that has to be implemented. One is about the if logic, second is an else logic. When it comes to the if logic, wherein whatever the payment response that is successful, for example, whatever the billing account are, we are marking it as a paid amount, right? So payment responses as well as the transactions ID, etc. So else if the payment response is not successful, then normally billing account will be marked as failed for the payment responses, so that we get the error message on it. So this is how generally when we are working on any kind of integration, means when we wants to integrate any kind of integrations, etc., especially when we are integrating with any kind of external payment system using in Guideware Billing Center. As a Guideware developer, this is what and how generally we develop and write the code accordingly. This is one this thing. So being into Guideware development from the billing center point of view, especially as an integration developer, one must be good and one must be familiar with.